In a world where everyone uses magic in their daily lives, we see a ridiculously strong boy in the forest. His name is Mash, and his existence defies the natural order in the world. He lives in a hut with his father, Burndead, where they enjoy their lives in isolation. When Mash goes home, he ends up breaking the door, forgetting. If it was a push or pull, this makes Burndead upset, but Mash apologizes, promising to fix it. He tries to put it back, but he just pounds it against the door frame, making the damage even worse. After that, they have tea together, and we learn that Mash is different from other people because he can't use magic. So Burndead has been trying to make his body stronger to make up for it. But Mash doesn't know this, so he continues to wonder why his training is purely physical. Burndead heads out, but warns Mash not to venture into the city while he's gone. But after his father leaves, he immediately runs to the city wearing a cloak, wanting to try a limited edition cream puff from the bakery. He walks around the city, where he sees the people using magic, but he thinks that it's nothing special, because the things they do with magic can also be done with their hands. Mash reaches the bakery and becomes excited, ordering some cream puffs. But as he pays, all the coins are bent, because he had clenched his fists when he had gotten too excited. But the baker thinks that the coins shouldn't be bent so easily. Mash fixes them up, straightening them to their original form, and the baker freaks out. After a while, Mash gets his food, but the winds blow, revealing his face to the public, and everyone is surprised because he doesn't have any marks on his face. Meanwhile, we see an officer named Brad at the police station. He reads a newspaper about this year's Divine Visionary, a title given to the top student of the Magic Academy, which also comes with a number of promotions and rewards. The phone rings, and he is informed about a man walking around the city with no mark on his face. As Mash walks around the streets, he wonders why everyone is staring at him, but he just eats his cream puffs. He bumps into a drunk officer named Terry, messing up his uniform with some of the cream and making him upset. Terry knocks the food off his hands as he continues to run his mouth. Mash rips off the officer's uniform, but he actually has good intentions, telling Terry that he will wash it up for him. At that moment, Brad arrives, asking Terry why he's naked. He looks at Mash, thinking that he is the man mentioned in the report. So he approaches him, but Burndead arrives, grabbing his son and running away, while Brad summons a magical bird to go after them. When they return home, Burndead scolds his son for going into the city, despite his warning. Burndead forgives him in the end, but he punishes Mash by making him repeat his workout routine as Mash leaves the house to train. Burndead thinks that Mash is actually a good kid, and he can't blame him for wanting to go to the city because he has spent his entire life hiding in the forest. Burndead thinks about how to deal with the police when he sees Brad's bird watching him from his window. Brad suddenly arrives with his men, asking Burndead where his son is. We see Mash training in the woods, lifting the weight like it's nothing, and completing his workout in 5 minutes. He heads back home. But just as he is about to open the door, he hears Brad as he explains that magic has flourished because they have gotten rid of all the people who can't use magic, calling it a necessary sacrifice for a better world. Brad pushes Burndead, telling him that sheltering the unmarked is a serious offense, but Burndead refuses to tell them about his son's whereabouts. In a flashback, we learn that Burndead has always been treated as a failure in everything that he does. This goes on until adulthood. And he thinks about taking his own life when suddenly he hears a baby Mash crying. He realizes that the baby was abandoned because he had no mark, thinking that they are both unwanted by society. So he decides to raise the baby as his own. Back in the present, Burndead screams at Mash to run, so Brad starts beating him up. But just as he is about to finish him off, Mash bursts through the door, hitting one of the officers and blowing him away. Terry goes to him. But Mash rips his uniform off, slapping him repeatedly until he falls to the ground. Mash, unwavering in his resolve, reveals that his decision not to run is because Burndead is his only family. Brad scoffs, certain that Mash stands no chance without magic, and launches a spell that once repelled a dragon. But Mash effortlessly deflects it with one hand, leaving Brad dumbfounded. Undeterred, Brad casts an even stronger spell, only for Mash to slap it away, sending it exploding into the distance. Terry keeps launching his magic, but Mash is unfazed, clearly enjoying the challenge. When Mash grabs his father's wand, Brad braces for a magical strike. But instead, Mash hurls the wand at Brad, shattering his barrier and sending him to his knees. Mash warns Brad that if he threatens his family again, he'll kill him, but Brad proposes a deal. He suggests that Mash enroll in a magic academy and become a divine visionary, earning society's acceptance. He promises to back Mash for the reward, claiming that without his support, they'll be hunted for life. Reluctantly, Mash agrees. Mash heads to the Easton Magic Academy, disguised with a fake mark on his face, preparing for the notoriously brutal entrance exam with less than a 3% passing rate. Lucci, the examiner, surveys the field of applicants but is taken aback when he spots Mash casually lifting weights like they're paper. Even more perplexing, Mash reads a fitness book while performing an invisible chair exercise. Brad and Burndead are nearby, trying to keep an eye on him. Lucci, ever the professional, announces himself dramatically as the one overseeing the exam, to the awe of the students. But Mash, unimpressed, comments on his unnecessarily flashy entrance, sparking a desire in Lucci to fail him. The first exam begins with a simple task: read the enchanted papers. The words move around, a spell placed to test their ability to dispel magic. While Brad and Burndead think Mash will fail, Mash crushes his pen, and the words immediately stop moving, aligning perfectly out of fear. He finishes early, leaving Lucci stunned at his flawless completion. Mash's superhuman abilities continue to wow the examiners, as he easily passes each subsequent stage. Meanwhile, Lucci plots to eliminate him. The next challenge is a maze that appears from the ground, giving the candidates 30 minutes to reach the goal. A girl named Lemon, eager to tag along, tries to follow Mash but keeps falling into traps. When she casts a spell to restrain him, Mash easily breaks free, determined to pass. As he races ahead, a creature approaches Lemon, posing a riddle. She fails to answer and is attacked, but Mash returns just in time to knock the creature out with a single punch. Lemon is confused but grateful, and Mash, surprisingly empathetic, admits that they likely share a similar goal. With time running out, Mash decides to break the maze. As the walls tremble and crumble, he clears a path, arriving at the goal. The other applicants call him a cheater, urging him to leave. Lemon, however, defends him, revealing that Lucci promised her admission to the academy if she kept Mash from succeeding. Lucci, seething with anger, finally reveals his true intentions, unleashing his magical powers, and the tension in the air builds to a breaking point. In a tense confrontation, Professor Lucci informs Mash and Lemon that they're about to fail, challenging them to defy his decision. But before they can protest, Mash crushes Lucci's wand with a single punch, declaring that the professor has crossed the line. Just then, the headmaster, Wahlberg, arrives, announcing the start of the final interview. He takes over as the examiner and leads Mash to a room filled with officials ready to question him. Though they seem unimpressed with his answers, Wahlberg sees something different. He's curious about Mash's decision to save a girl in the maze when time is running out. Mash, with a shrug, explains he couldn't live with the regret of not helping her. Wahlberg sees through to Mash's character, someone who acts before thinking, and questions how he'd respond to a threat stronger than himself. To test him, Wahlberg summons a massive creature that threatens to destroy a doll containing the soul of Mash's beloved, now lost. Mash tries to punch the creature, but his fist is powerless, leaving him bleeding. Yet Mash refuses to give in, using sheer determination to outlast the creature. Wahlberg, impressed by his resolve to protect the weak and stand up to the strong, dismisses the test and welcomes him to Easton Magic Academy. Later in class, they begin learning a basic lock-opening spell. Mash, however, opts for brute force and crushes the lock with his bare hands, enraging the teacher. Mash, ever humble, admits he struggles with magic. His classmate Finn begins to view him as a troublemaker, but their paths cross later when Finn realizes Mash is his new roommate. At first, Finn thinks Mash is just an ordinary guy, but things take a weird turn when Mash enthusiastically introduces him to his muscles. The next day, Mash borrows Finn's broom for flying class, mistakenly bringing a plant root instead. When it's time to fly, Mash struggles with the broom, earning ridicule from a fellow student. However, with a dramatic stomp, Mash summons the broom to his hand, leaving the class stunned. A time trial is set, and a student challenges Mash to a race. The loser obeys the winner. Mash, ever confident, accepts the challenge, though the instructor doubts he can even ride the broom. To everyone's shock, Mash wins instantly, setting a new world record. No one saw him move, but Finn, observing closely, realizes Mash simply threw the broom ahead and leaped onto it mid-air. The student accuses Mash of cheating, but Mash shrugs it off and the bet is dropped. Just then, a troublemaker named Cavil steps into the scene, apologizing for his friend. Known for his chaotic nature, Cavil's entrance sends a ripple of worry through the students, especially when he introduces himself to Mash, who, in a classic mix-up, calls him Cabbage, silencing the room. Cavil, furious, prepares to cast a spell, but the teacher intervenes, and Cavil promises to settle things after class. As they head back to their room, Finn fills Mash in on Cavil's background. The son of a high-ranking Bureau of Magic official, Cavil has connections to the vice principal. Finn warns Mash to steer clear of him, as many students have suffered at Cavil's hands. With his reputation on the line, Mash is about to find out that Easton Academy isn't as welcoming as it first seemed. Mash starts baking cream puffs alone, enjoying the process. But Cavil, waiting for him on the field, grows irritated at Mash's absence. The next day, Mash discovers his book is in terrible shape. Cavil confronts him, demanding an explanation, and Mash sheepishly admits he was too caught up in making cream puffs, which only frustrates Cavil more. With a plan in mind, Cavil offers to help Mash achieve his goal of becoming a divine visionary, but only if Mash follows his orders. Mash eagerly agrees, transforming into Cavil's obedient sidekick. As Mash prepares for class, he finds his book damaged again, and Finn, though reluctantly, agrees to lend him his. Mash considers himself lucky to have such a friend. Meanwhile, Cavil, ever the manipulator, orders Mash to clean up the water he pours on the floor. Then he orders Finn to tamper with Mash's books. Bored with that, Cavil escalates, demanding Finn burn Mash's clothes. When Finn refuses, Cavil uses magic to force him into submission. Mash arrives just in time to see Cavil tormenting Finn. Cavil spins the situation into a story about wanting an apology from Finn, who tearfully admits to destroying Mash's books under Cavil's orders. Then Cavil suggests Mash have dinner with the vice principal, but Mash responds by bashing Cavil's head into the floor, knocking him out cold. Finn warns Mash that he's likely going to be expelled, which sends Mash into a panic. The vice principal, Farman, shows up just then, revealing that Cavil's father had entrusted him to watch over his son. Farman, witnessing everything, labels Mash's actions as violent and demands a school conference, calling Mash and Finn idiots for their behavior. But Mash, undeterred, approaches and lands a solid knee strike to Farman's face. When Farman threatens expulsion and tries to use magic, Mash slaps dirt into his face, digs a hole, and forces Farman into it, covering him up. Farman warns him he won't get away with this, but Mash threatens to bury him alive if he keeps talking. Later, Mash is summoned by the headmaster, who informs him that the Bureau of Magic is considering expelling him. He explains the importance of the divine visionaries, who hold power within the Bureau, and reminds Mash of Cavil's influential status. But Mash burns the expulsion notice, unwilling to let the elite system run unchecked. The headmaster rants about the current state of the world, longing for people like Mash who stand up for what's right. He hints that Mash could one day become a divine visionary himself, explaining that the path involves high marks and accumulating coins. Mash leaves the meeting, determined but still clueless about how it all works. The next day, Tom, the captain of the Dweller team, invites Mash to play in a game similar to Quidditch. Mash insists he can't ride a broom, but Tom drags him onto the team. During the match, the enemy grabs the ball and Mash remains grounded, repeating his inability to ride. The crowd jeers, believing Mash isn't even trying, while his team is getting destroyed. Tom tries to explain the rules, emphasizing that it's all about broom skills and no magic. Just as he's about to rejoin the game, the enemy captain deliberately crashes into him, causing him to break some bones. Tom, addressing the enemy captain's sportsmanship, is met with indifference. The captain reveals that for him, winning is everything. Despite knowing their team is on the verge of losing, 50 points behind, Tom encourages Mash that winning isn't the sole priority. Giving one's best matters more. With the enemy captain feeling confident about their victory, Mash, enraged, leaps into the air, gripping his broom. Defying the rules of gravity, he propels himself by kicking his broom, leaving the crowd in awe. He snatches the ball and launches it using his superhuman strength, sending the opposing team flying. The ball returns to him like a boomerang, allowing Mash to repeat the process, scoring point after point in rapid succession. As the score reaches 999, Mash's team wins, setting a new Academy record. They are rewarded with silver coins. Finn celebrates his performance, but Mash has no interest in repeating the game. Tom, grateful, thanks Mash with a hug for his help in securing the win. Later, Lance, a student from the entrance exam, reads about Mash's feat in the newspaper. He marks Mash as his next target. In class, Tom presses Mash to practice, while Lemon suggests studying, but Mash remains uninterested. Just then, Lance appears. Lemon recognizes him as the top scorer of the entrance exam. Lance pulls out a magical tool and traps Mash's friends inside a bottle, telling Mash to meet him in the forest to get them back. In the forest, Lance reveals that he, too, is collecting silver coins and shows off his two. He explains that most people have only one magic line, but those with multiple lines are far more powerful. Lance challenges Mash to a duel, wagering one silver coin. Mash accepts and Lance prepares the arena with a spell. The duel begins with Mash trying to land a punch, but Lance uses gravity magic to slam him down. Mash, undeterred, punches through the ground, splitting it and driving Lance back. Lance, stunned by Mash's strength, tries to stop him again, but Mash's speed proves too much. During the skirmish, Lance's necklace falls, and Mash picks it up, revealing a photo of Lance's sister. Lance, embarrassed, confesses to his obsession with her. He insists she's the most important thing to him, declaring that nothing else matters, not even the match. Mash, sensing something unsettling, grows concerned. Lance threatens to drop Mash's friends off a cliff unless he wins. In a flashback, we learn that Lance's sister suffers from a magical disease that will strip her of her powers. In a world where magicless people are deemed unworthy of life, Lance seeks to become a divine visionary to save her. Back in the present, Lance accelerates the descent of the bottle with a spell, but Mash changes into his workout gear and speeds toward Lance. Lance is stunned when Mash snatches the bottle out of thin air. Convinced Mash is using magic, Lance is shocked to realize Mash only needed speed and agility to win. Mash, having freed his friends, tells Lance that he's not a bad guy, and the bottle he dropped was empty. Lance, having lost the duel, hands over his silver coin and walks away. Mash, reflecting on the encounter, realizes that Lance isn't such a bad guy after all. His friends surround him, grateful for his bravery in rescuing them. We learn that the Academy has 3 dorms: Adler, representing courage, Orca for wisdom, and Lang for ambition. These dorms have a fierce rivalry. Mash gathers his silver coins and discovers that 5 silver coins equal 1 gold coin. Mash and Finn relax, but panic strikes when they realize they forgot their potion assignment. Lance, appearing unexpectedly, scolds them for slacking off and warns that they risk tarnishing their dorm's reputation. Mash, ever resourceful, uses Lance's necklace against him. Just the sight of Lance's little sister in the photo knocks him out cold. Lance, now humbled, agrees to help them. Lance introduces them to a mandrake, the key ingredient for their potion. However, it becomes clear that Mash's mandrake is far too powerful. While Finn struggles with the spell to calm the mandrake, Lance offers advice, helping Finn put his mandrake to sleep. Mash's, however, grows enormous and goes on a rampage. With a single slap, Mash subdues it. Lance proceeds to prepare the mandrake, demonstrating how to cook it into a potion. While Finn finds it complicated, Mash is confident, until he accidentally creates a cream puff instead. Despite Lance's repeated guidance, Mash keeps making cream puffs. Lance is left dumbfounded, though the cream puffs turn out to be surprisingly delicious. Meanwhile, Headmaster Wahlberg reflects on the upcoming off-campus cross-dorm class, concerned about Mash's well-being. At the Lang dorm, Barrett is introduced as a troublemaker who believes power should be the ultimate authority. He makes a bold statement about taking the Adler dorm's silver coins, setting up tension for the next day. The next day, the Lang and Adler dorms gather for a joint class in the forest. Mash is intrigued by what they will be doing, but they encounter Barrett, who loudly proclaims himself the main character, and Mash is confused by his strange behavior. Barrett, frustrated by Mash's indifference, spits on him, believing that his lack of attention from women is due to guys like Mash. But the group ignores him, causing Barrett to escalate his anger. The professor arrives and announces the class challenge. They are tasked with hunting forest scorpions and retrieving the stones from their heads. Regular scorpions yield bronze coins, but the stronger ones provide silver. Mash immediately sets his sights on a silver coin. Suddenly, Silva, a student who witnessed Mash's earlier duel, attacks him with a pillar of iron, claiming that Mash is nothing special. The professor intervenes, and Silva feigns innocence, claiming they were just messing around. Lance steps in, explaining that Silva is a year older, having been held back due to his troublemaking behavior. Lance warns Mash to steer clear of Silva, but Mash is more concerned with making sure his cream puff is unharmed. As they venture into the forest, Lance suggests they work together, but Mash, distracted as always, zones out and disappears. He stumbles into Barrett, who, once again, tries to pick a fight. After a brief exchange, Barrett is slapped down by Mash, who remains unbothered. Just then, they hear a scream. A girl is being attacked by another student. She cries for help, and an explosion defeats the boy. The girl thanks Barrett for saving her, and he starts to freak out. He tries to act cool, but when she grabs his hand, he starts to lose it. Meanwhile, we see a defeated scorpion, as it seems Silva has already obtained a square stone. But it seems there is something else he is after. The girl thanks Barrett once again, and their knees touch. Barrett is overwhelmed and starts slamming his head into the ground. But we learn that the girl is using magic to charm him, magic that makes anyone who finds her attractive to fall madly in love with her. She tries to work her magic on Mash, but he says he didn't really do anything. The girl is shocked her magic isn't working on him, so she tries to use more energy, grabbing his hand, but it still has no effect on him, leaving her devastated. Barrett wonders about her situation, and the girl explains she is being threatened by Silva, who is forcing her to use her unique magic. Barrett swears to help her, and at that moment they are suddenly attacked and Silva appears. Barrett decides to fight him to help the girl. He attacks with a barrage of fireballs, ending with a giant explosion. Meanwhile, we see Finn and Lemon clinging onto Lance as they cry for help. But he wonders if Mash is okay since he is being targeted by Silva. Barrett thinks he has won. But as the smoke clears, we see that Silva protected himself with his iron. He attacks Barrett with his pillar and knocks Mash's cream puff out of his hand. Silva continues to taunt them to fight him, while Mash is just stunned by the loss of his cream puff. But that's where this video ends. If you'd like to see more of this series, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.